Hello, good afternoon. This is Jamal Hasan discussing political Islam in Bangladesh. Today I'm joining with Shabir Ahmed. Hello, Shabir. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing fine, John. How are you doing?
So far, so good, I can say. Okay, let's go to the topic. Before discussing the topic of political Islam in Bangladesh, we have to consider Pakistan is the eye of the storm of political Islam in the Indian subcontinent. Many of us know Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971 was nothing but antithesis of Pakistani ideology. That's a nationhood on the basis of religion. The Pakistani regimes never accepted the separation of Bangladesh from its body, and that's why the Bangladeshi war criminals are still given shelter in that country. In 1971, the members of Jamaat-e-Islami of then East Pakistan and members of Islami Chhatra Sangh, the predecessor of Islami Chhatra Shibir, committed numerous brutal acts against Bengalis of then East Pakistan. Shabir, you may also recall, how old were you at the time when
I was,
the
I
war
was,
was going on?
yeah, in 1971, I was 13 and a half year old.
You remember that members of Islami Chhatra Shibir were kind of auxiliary forces of Pakistani army. Is it true?
Yeah, it's true. Just make a small correction. Back at that time, before 1971, it used to be called Islamic Chhatra Sangha.
Yeah,
Islamic.
I think I was telling Islami Chhatra Sangh. Yeah, right. Yeah, Islami Chhatra Sangh, the predecessor
Yeah,
of Islami Chhatra Shibir. And
yes.
you probably know that they supported not only the marauding Pakistani army, they also acted as the auxiliary forces and becoming the part of the death squad. So you also
Yes.
know that military-dominated successive Pakistani regimes are still have been the second fiddle of Pakistani military intelligence, the notorious inter-services intelligence. You may be wondering that until today, this Taliban group of Afghanistan had been the brainchild of ISI. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, we all know. We all know those who actually know about the politics of the subcontinent before 1971, even after 1971, especially we in Bangladesh, we are always more aware of the role of Pakistan in 1971 and thereafter.
Uh,
Many of us who actually are conscious about what happened before 1971 in Bangladesh, during 1971 and after 1971. We are always curious about what Pakistan does. It has a significant effect on the Islamic politics in Bangladesh, in particular on the Islamic politics in Bangladesh.
it's still unfortunate that many Western governments, many think tanks are not aware that in global Islamic movement, I'm talking about political Islamic movement, Pakistani ISI is still playing a dirty role. So we know it was an open secret that ISI chief was openly Islamist, Hamid Gul, I'm talking about. No wonder Osama bin Laden got a safe haven in Abbottabad, Pakistan, where he lived peacefully until the American SEAL operation. On 15th of August 1975, the political landscape of Bangladesh changed dramatically. A great percentage of Bangladeshis, even after brutal genocide committed by Pakistani army, quickly forgot the painful episode of 9 months of Bangladesh genocide. In this case, I want to give a historical background. 23 years of Pakistani administration in East Pakistan, I'm talking about from 1947 to 1971, the Bengalis of then East Pakistan were constantly fed with the information that Indians and Hindus are enemies of Islam and Muslims. So that was going on for 23, 24 years. Bangladesh Liberation War suddenly came, 9 months, East versus West. Many Bengali Muslims of Bangladesh were suddenly startled. They were, of course, heartbroken. They didn't expect the Pakistani army would be doing so much brutal act against unarmed civilians. But after Bangladesh became independent, many of the Bengalis, it's totally my assumption, I should tell, many of the Bengalis went back to their original state of mind. No wonder when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto came to independent Bangladesh in 1974, many of the Dhaka residents waved him by the roadsides. Imagine in Israel, Eichmann or some of the Hitler's guys visit after 2 years of Israel's emergence, and Israelis are waving at him. It's unthinkable. Am I not right?
You are correct. You are correct. But here in Bangladesh, you know what happened, because I would say a small but very strong percentage, I mean, strong believers in United Pakistan. It was small in 1971, but after 1971, we went through a lot of chaos. It's a newborn country. Law and order was not good. We had crisis on food and other stuff, you know, like scarcity in almost every sectors. So, and as you know, like at that time, Bangladesh was not even a member of United Nations, and it was not even recognized many countries in the world as an independent country. So the government had real difficulty in organizing the country in a right track. And in the midst of all of this, the supporters of Pakistan gradually gained strength. Uh, Within themselves, they started reorganizing, indirectly, or in terms of out of the sight of the administration, and also from external support. For example, from Pakistan, even other Middle Eastern countries were not happy with the breakup of Pakistan on Bangladesh, so they were not happy. So they actually supported, and after 1975, the same group actually were energized by the new regime that came in after 1975. So they energized and they organized and reorganized, themselves, and they came with, vigor and strength after 1975. They were hiding because Islam politics in the name of Islam was banned in after the independence in 1971. I think in 1972, starting 1972, politics in the name of Islam was banned. In 1973, it was constitutionally banned. So I think is the Bangladesh probably, I should not say probably, Bangladesh is the only country in the world that constitutionally banned political Islam after its independence, constitutionally. But after the changeover in 1975, the same groups that were defeated, miserably defeated, they were hiding. They were given all opportunities to reorganize them, to come back into the politics. They were allowed to revitalize their original party, and not only them, there are others were allowed to form their own parties based on political Islam. So that's how we have now number of political parties based on political Islam, and there are a few that are gaining strength with the support of the fundamentalist portions of Muslims, uh, with the Islamists, and in particular with the support of the political Islamists. And as you know, as of today, we are in Bangladesh. There are a lot of crises going on in Bangladesh, and government is actually struggling how to manage these huge number of political Islamists that grew with time for a long period of time since 1975 after the founding father of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Muhammad Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was killed. After that, there was a turning point going into the direction of political Islam in Bangladesh.
In this case, I can say, Shabir, Ziaur Rahman could be the main architect for the foundation of Islamic political Bangladesh. And he's the guy who began Islamization of the country. The term secularism was a taboo subject. He scrapped secularism from the constitution. In 1977, Ziaur Rahman replaced with a statement of absolute trust and faith in Almighty Allah, and Islam was declared the state religion in 1988. Ziaur Rahman's Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP gradually got closer to Bangladesh's largest Islamist political party, Jamaat-e-Islami. A federal court in Canada has in two separate cases involving judicial review applications of Bangladesh nationals has declared the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party or BNP a terrorist organization. I think you may be aware of that. Federal Court Judge Justice Henry S. Brown upheld that many immigration officials' previous assessment that there were reasonable grounds to believe that the BNP, based on its activities, was a terrorist organization as defined under Canadian law. Lately, there have been news reports of leaked telephone conversations where it has been found BNP leaders' collusions with Pakistani ISI. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I love to comment. Very good point. That recently, not too long ago, maybe a couple of years or so ago, that was a verdict from one of the federal judges in Canada. The reason BNP was portrayed as such that it is a kind of a fundamentalist party. Some of the leaders you see don't feel like fundamentalists, to be honest with you. It just they feel like regular, non-political, political Muslim, regular Muslim. So, but problem is they are aligned with a fundamentalist party, Jamaat-e-Islami, and they were highly critical of their political foe, the current government in power under Bangladesh Awami League, which actually led the whole movement to free Bangladesh from Pakistan. So this BNP is in alliance with the major fundamentalist parties, like one part of Islami, of course, most notorious is the Jamaat-e-Islami, is the main, which actually took part in the genocide in 1971, and now after 1975, they were actually nurtured and they were strengthened by BNP, the founder of BNP. So they are the natural ally of BNP. So when BNP gave many programs against the current government in power, Jamaat Islami actually took the lead, and their student wing and workers, they actually did not do any demonstration. They actually started burning, like passenger bus. They started destroying everything. And in fact, I read, in some of their reviews that they think any government that claims secularism is like working against the Islamic philosophy, Islamic theology, or any party opposing political Islam is a kind of close to non-Muslim. And those who are sitting in the bus, not taking part in the movement with them, means they are like enemy of Islam. They are enemies of Islam. So they don't hesitate to burn alive passengers. They don't hesitate to attack, like common people walking, because according to them, they should not walk. They should not remain away from their struggle. They should come and join them to fight the enemies of Islam. So that's how they they think. So in 2013 and even before and after that, they did so many, like atrocities on common people in the name of movement against the current government, like burning people alive, burning bus drivers alive, and all these were in the news. You see, I think that's what, when the judge saw the case of a BNP supporter, I think it's my understanding that he looked into all this. But now he got all this information online. He inquired about what this BNP does and what are the parties it's aligned with.
Are you talking
And
about
then,
Canadian judge?
no, in Canadian just right, yeah. That's what I think. He got all the information, and then based on that, he had this verdict. That's what I think.
One important factor, historical burden, if I want to reveal now, during 1971, 1975, 1988, before I can say, even up to until the Soviet invasion in Afghanistan, successive US administrations were cozy with global Islamists. And we know that Muslim Brotherhood was a favorite outfit, a favorite network in many, many Western countries, Muslim Brotherhood. So who had a global ambition. So when you talk about proliferation of Jamaat-e-Islami supporters in global scale, we have to take these historical facts into account. We know, you may be aware, the Jamaati party sympathizer, many of them allegedly infiltrated in quite a few vital US federal agencies. It's shocking. Most frustrating situation is the status of US Embassy in Bangladesh. Some observers note the Jamaati presence in that embassy had been a multi-decades phenomenon. One notorious Jamaati presence was revealed in Delhi Janakanto of Dhaka, I think maybe 16, 17 years ago. So that Jamaati operative was a Rokon, and he was dealing with the political side of the embassy. Remember, if a Jamaati mole with a close connection with the US ambassador, while he gives the skewed or slanted version of the happenings, what would be the ultimate effect in Bangladesh society? What could be the effect among Bangladeshi secular people? So the problem is, many observers think after one Jamaati gets a good position in the US embassy in Dhaka, more and more followers will get the positions, because that's how it works. And they could be good workers, no doubt about it. Many ambassadors might be maybe very much a favorite of them. Or the question is, they are doing a great damage to the secular fabric in Bangladesh. I can remember Shahriar Kabir, who is known to me. Shahriar Kabir is a human rights activist and a crusader against Bangladesh Jamaat. He once told me that his ordeal during the time when BNP leader Khaleda Zia was in power, Shahriar was arrested and tortured after the verdict of Khaleda Zia's kangaroo court. The embassies of all the member countries of the European Union condemned Khaleda Zia government's repression of Shahriar Kabir. Only exception was the US Embassy. Shahriar believes the silence on the part of the US Embassy occurred because of a Bangladeshi staff in that embassy who used to be a Rokon or a top leader of Bangladesh Jamaat. I heard a similar account from notable Bangladeshi reporter, journalist Selim Samad. So, Shabir, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, yeah. Jamaat actually has a huge network and they have many university, students, part of Jamaat, Islamic student wing. So when they graduate, they show their, academic achievements and all this. So they get job here and there. And yeah, so if there is a Jamaat, Jamaat student wing member, once he graduates and he takes a job with any embassy, not just US embassy, but he gets a job with any embassy. His job will be to cover up, any filthy acts or anything that Jamaat does. Thing is that the Jamaat generally is very good in communicating outside world, saying that they are just like other political party. They just want to some Islamic rules and everything, but they think all those who do not follow them are enemies of Islam. If you remember well, when in 1971, when Dhaka University professors were picked up, journalists were picked up. Who picked up? Picked them up for killing in 1971 in December? It's the Jamati student wing members. Jamati student wing, student wing is to be called, as we mentioned earlier, is Islamic Chhatra Sangha, and they converted the whole Islamic Chhatra Sangha into an organization called Al Badr, and they had arms, training, necessary trainings given by the Pakistani army, and they knew who different professors and others who are like more liberal, those who are like critical of political Islam, or even just regular, Muslim who does not believe in the politics of Jamaat Islami. They went after them and they picked them. And
And when you're
they were brutally killed with the
when
help of.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you're talking about the ambassadors, do you remember some US ambassadors said Jamaat is a legitimate political party?
I think I remember. I don't remember which ambassador, but yeah, I remember reading one time in newspaper that U.S. ambassador in Dhaka was saying, in Dhaka, Bangladesh, was saying that Jamaat is a like a democratic party or something like that. It's a liberal democratic, but it's not actually true. It's probably they did not uh, get all the necessary information to really identify what Jamaat is, Jamaat Islam is. But Jamaat Islami is one of the major political parties, political Islamic parties that actually have been working, for a long period of time to bring Sharia law and other Islamic law and divide the nation into Muslims, non-Muslims, and all different sectarian views and everything. Just like any political Islamic party can do in any country. But Jamaat was always the strongest political Islamic party in Bangladesh. True.
I can at least cite Marianne Peters, ambassadors Marianne Peters and Harry Thomas. Both said good things about Jamaat. Anyway, let's talk about the current situation. What's happening now? Secular ruling party, Awami League, they had a long-term policy, I think, of appeasing Hifazat-e-Islami, another Islamic party, non-political. We may remember that the Shapla chapter showdown in Dhaka on May 5th and May 6th of 2013. The government of Bangladesh and Hifazat-e-Islami had come to an agreement not to bother each other, but that contract did not last long. The recent violence against Hindus by the Hifazat members in Sylhet and the violent demonstration against Indian Prime Minister Modi's Bangladesh visit brought the ruling Awami League and Hifazat-e-Islami in collision course. At present, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Jamaat-e-Islami, and Hifazat-e-Islami are coordinating in anti-government agitation. Shabir, I want your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, it's true that the current government, as I read many news reports, that they tried to appease Hifazat after they took very strong action on 5th May, probably. It was on 5th May 2013. Government took very strong step against Hafazat Islam. But later they realized that it's not just Hafazat Islam. It's within Hafazat, Jamaat Islam has migrated, has merged, internally. The government, when it came to power, there was no Hafazat Islam. It was Jamaat Islam. And the current government under Bangladesh Awami League, they took strong steps. They actually tried the war criminals. They investigated. They were given all due process of lawful process, which went through, and took years of trial, initial investigation, and all the investigation were done. I mean, in a thorough fashion, for taking a long time, and they were given opportunity to defend themselves, and they were tried. And with all these, Jamaat Islami was marginalized because they lost all of their war criminal leaders at the top, at the helm. They were leading, those war criminals were leading Jamaat Islami after 1975. They came to power, and the war criminals were leading the party, you know. So when the government tried these war criminals, they became leaderless. And in the midst of all this, the secular forces were growing, I would say, in Bangladesh. But they actually, from behind, they pushed forward Hafazat Islam. So another Islamic force came in, and Jamaat and Hafazat Islam, and also BNP aligned with them. They started, they started demonstrating, and they had a huge gathering on, as you mentioned, on 5th May 2013, and they were trying to overthrow the government back at that time. And they had some 13-point demand. They wanted to implement some of the rules based on Sharia, and how to, marginalize the woman. They are against, in those demands, there were many of the demands were against women education, and against many different things I can remember, but all were like against civilization, on one can say. So the government took very strong step, yeah, on 5th May. And then the government realized that, they need to keep Jamaat Islami and Hifazat Islam separate. So they actually negotiated with one part of Hifazat Islam, at that time was the leading part of Hafazat. So they tried to isolate the Hafazat from Jamaat, and actually they did negotiate, and it went for quite some time. Now the leader named Allama Shafi, who was the chief of Hafazat at that time when government negotiated, he died, and the new leadership came. As I read in many newspapers, the new leadership is actually either Jamaat Islami, leaders, or pro Jamaat Islami. They are more, they feel like going with more with Jamaat. So Jamaat has taken over. Some say, in some analysis in Bangladesh newspapers and other talk shows, I hear many opine that it's a Jamaat Islami has taken over Hafazat. So now the government is having real difficulty, just controlling this rise of this fundamentalist political Islamists under the banner of Hafazat Islam. It's true. It's not just Hafazat, it's Hafazat plus Jamaat Islami. Those who don't know what is Hafazat. Hafazat means Islam, Hafazat meaning they are here to protect Islam. They boastfully say 90% Muslims, the country of 90% Muslims. Why they have to, protect Islam? Where in a country there are 90% of the people are Muslims. And when British left in 1971, there were about 30%, 30 to 33% Hindus living in Bangladesh. Then in 1956, Pakistan declared as an Islamic republic, not People's Republic. So they started marginalizing Hindus from the beginning, and then officially they declared it's not a People's Republic. It's an Islamic Republic of Pakistan in 1956, and since then it is still an Islamic Republic. So Hindus are marginalized. They gradually left, and now Some say 10%, some say less than 10%. And the mullahs boastfully say that it's less than 10% and they boast about it in their preachings and in their lectures and all these. I listen and I see what they say. And now they have created an organization, with Jamaat, merged with them, and they say that they are going to protect Islam. They're marginalizing all the liberal people, they're marginalizing all the non-Muslims, and under the leadership of the military rulers leadership after 1975, they followed the footsteps of Pakistan. They declared state religion. They deleted the ban on political Islamic parties. And then the second military dictator came in, Jamal Hasan. He declared state religion is Islam. So the Hindus and other non-Muslims are marginalized. And you see, like from 30 to 33% back in 1947. Now less than 10% Hindus, and they've been attacked. And occasionally, for very silly reasons, they organize, fundamentalist mobs, and they go and attack Hindu villages.
Shabir, when you just talked about protection or protecting Islam, the ulterior motive of those guys who say about protecting Islam is nothing but emancipation. I mean, I can say more or less implementing Islamic law, Sharia law. And when Islam becomes politicized, it becomes a dangerous activity against minorities. When even though some countries where political Islam was not that much of predominant, talk about Lebanon. During Second World War, after Second World War, Lebanon has a more than 50% Christian community. Now, I think less than 30%. So it's happening, unfortunately, many of the Arab countries where Muslims are the majority, where Sharia law is not totally implemented, but minorities are diminishing. We can say at the moment, going back to Bangladesh, Bangladesh Jamaat Islami is doing an excellent job as a facilitator of Muslim Brotherhood. That is one of the reasons why Bangladeshi Jamaat is gained considerable strength in countries like UK or USA. On the other hand, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates had declared Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. You know, Shabir, we talk about the media outlet Al Jazeera based in Qatar. I think you heard that. I think it's Doha. I mean, I was in Qatar and I saw their main office in Doha, Qatar. Al Jazeera was alleged to be a mouthpiece of Muslim Brotherhood. I'm giving you a personal experience. I was in Kuwait during, I think that time, it would be probably 2013, when anti-Mursi movement was in full swing in Cairo. You probably remember that. Yeah. And there was a big demonstration. And I can say it was a lot of observers say it was bigger than Arab Spring demonstrations. So I had channels, different multi-channels. I used to flip through CNN and Al Jazeera. You know, some Republicans, they say CNN is too left. Our past president didn't like CNN. But I was amazed to see the bias, media bias of the two different channels, Al Jazeera and CNN. Believe me, Shafi, I was a television producer. What I saw Al Jazeera was showing close-up shots or close shots of demonstrators. So you cannot have any idea the magnitude of millions of demonstrators. But CNN was showing long shots where you can see the real picture. Then and then I realized that Al Jazeera is biased to the Muslim Brotherhood champion, uh, outgoing the leader in Egypt, Morsi, Mohammed Morsi. Now, that same Al Jazeera is playing dirty game with Bangladesh because Al Jazeera never liked the Bangladeshi current government. Al Jazeera never cared for Bangladesh's war crime trial because the trial was basically prosecuting the Jamati leaders. So it's no wonder Chaudhry Moinuddin, convicted war criminal in Bangladesh who got death penalty, he got a nice interview in Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera TV actually, if you see that interview, any any high school kid can understand that that interview was basically sort of soft selling Chaudhry Moinuddin as if he was an innocent goody two shoes guy. So in this case, I bring the two situations. Chaudhry Moinuddin is a notorious war criminal whose hands were tainted with human blood, with news reporters and some of the intellectual victims in 1971's Bangladesh or the Danish Pakistan. But he is having a very good life in England because he is, it is well known that he is connected, he has got good relationship with Prince Charles. On the other hand, we have another war criminal, Mr. Ashrafuzzaman Khan, who was convicted also in Bangladeshi International Crimes Tribunal, and he got the death penalty, and he was accused of killing 7 university teachers, and the driver who took him to the killing field, driver, I think Mofis was his, unfortunately he is no more. Dr. Mofi, the driver Mofis gave the statement in a Bangladesh court that he saw this Ashrafuzzaman Khan cold-bloodedly kill the 7 Dhaka University teachers and staff. Unfortunately, Ashrafuzzaman Khan is in USA, and Ashrafuzzaman Khan has been very much involved with the Islamic Circle of North America. Many of the average Bangladeshi Americans have no idea that this Imam was a killer. Here, of course, the good point is that this Ashrafuzzaman Khan or Chaudhry Moinuddin, you will not see them or you will not hear they are connected to ISIS or Al Qaeda because the past is gone. Now they want to act like innocent imams. Nothing to do with violent Islamism or militant Islamism. Any comment on that, Shabir?
Yep. Yeah, we all know that two of these notable war criminals, Chaudhry Moinuddin and Ashrafuzzaman Khan, they were tried in Bangladesh, and in fact, there are many people who knew them and who knew very well about their criminal past in 1971, and they were, as far as I remember reading about their trial and all this. They were members of Islami Chhatra Sangh, the student wing of Jamaat Islami, which became Al Badr with arms and training in 1971. They converted their whole, think about a student organization, they converted into an armed organization in 1971 for what? To support the Pakistani military government because they equated opposition of Pakistan is like going against Islam. So Pakistan and Islam they equated. That Pakistan is the same as Islam. So if you go against Pakistan means you are going against Islam. So those who are against the rule of Pakistan back in 1971 when Pakistani military attacked and tortured Bengalis of all of all sorts, and when 10 million people took refuge in India, and people finding no alternative started a struggle people are started a war against Pakistani army. So they created this. They converted their whole student organization to kill those who support the to support the independence against from Pakistan. Sorry, independence from Pakistan. And this Mr. Chaudhry Moinuddin and Mr. Jamal Khan, they were that notorious Islamic Chhatra Sangha members. And they were leaders actually. They were probably in commanding level of Al Badr. And many witnesses, they actually told in the interrogation of their lawyers and also prosecution lawyers, they narrated what they saw and how they took part in the picking up and killing. They not only gave orders, but they also took part in the picking up of the professors. Their professors. Some of them were like their own teachers, professors. They took and they took them to a place called Raya Bajar in Dhaka outskirt at the time, and they killed many of them. It's just they did. It's like they did during the whole 9 month period on and off, and in particular they concentrated their effort in the month of December when they were saying like there's a war going on between freedom fighters, Pakistan against Pakistan army, freedom fighters and Indian army jointly fighting against the Pakistan army, and they realized that it might be not much time left, so they wanted to get rid of all these people. They thought enemies of Islam, and they killed many of them. Were like regular Muslims.
So currently, let's go to the present again. You know that there are quite a few violent Islamist groups in Bangladesh. Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, or JMB, and New JMB, Ansarullah Bangla Team, Harkatul Jihad, Hizbut Tawhid, Hizbut Tahrir. These are very active outfits. It has been found many of the members of such outfits were once members of Bangladesh Jamaat or Islami Chhatra Shibir. Many of these violent organizations maintain close ties with Pakistani groups like Harkatul Jihad of Pakistan or Lashkar-e-Taiyiba. Can you highlight on that?
Yeah, as I read, about in the newspapers in Bangladesh, and also, as I mentioned before, also like talk shows and discussions, I listen. These parties were banned by the president. The present government, when they came to power in 2008, they banned all these parties. They're like they opted for terrorism, clear, and they took part in killings of many bloggers and many others. During the time when BNP was power, especially, and also after this current government came into power, they also killed many. Or Abhijit Roy and others were killed. And these parties had role in those killings. Because according to them, those who are not fighting for political Islam, they are enemies of Islam, so they will go after them. And anyone who criticizes them. So as I read also like you in many news reports, I read many times that many of these members of these extreme violent parties were originally the members of Jamaat Islami. And as you mentioned the name of Mr. Shahriar, he's a renowned journalist, Shahriar Kabir, and renowned human rights activist who has been working for a long time against the rise of political Islam in Bangladesh. And he also mentions, many others also mentioned, that Jamaat Islami is the source of creating these these extremists in Bangladesh. So they go kind of training how to political Islam. Some go to the extreme line. So they have one is militant. They're going into the militant groups. So they identify under different names like Harkatul Jihad and all other different or militant organization, direct militant organization. And Jamaat Islami, when they come to foreign dignitaries and say, "Oh no, we are doing civil politics, we are just a political party," and all this. So they have two phases. In one side, they say, "Okay, we're just like peaceful, practicing politics in the name of Islam, no militancy." But on the other hand, they create those members and then they go fight for eradicating whatever secularism. In Bangladesh, secularism means separation of politics, separation of Islam from politics. That's what the secularism of Bangladesh is. Secularism Bangladesh means it's not. It doesn't mean that religion less. There are religion people will practice, but there should not be any religion in politics. There cannot be any political party doing political Islam. That's what secularism was originally included in Bangladesh Constitution after 1971.
In this case, I want to add, recently, one of the Hifazati leaders said that he has no problem with religious minorities like Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, but he has problem with non-believers or atheists. So I think it's a very strong political statement. So basically, he threatened non-believers. So in this case, Hifazati leaders, Hifazati Islami Party, which was known to be non-political, is uttering a political statement. But anyway, in concluding remarks, Shabir, I want to say that in America for the last 20 some years, I've been dealing with various federal and state level law enforcement agencies. I've been interacting with intelligence community and worked in counterintelligence field at home and abroad. I noticed a dismal picture as recruitment of Bangladesh-born staff in various federal and state agencies are concerned. I don't want to say all BNP or Bangladesh Nationalist Party supporters or sympathizers are Islamists. I don't want to draw them in broad brush, but I want to say that my personal experience is if we find any Bangladeshi-born citizen in a federal agency, there is more than 50% chance he or she would be a BNP or BNP Jamaat or Jamaat sympathizers. It's a very unfortunate. You don't find too many non-religious or secular Bangladeshi Americans in federal agencies. It's a reality. So I want to say, while the Uncle Sam is very strict in vetting in case of hiring locally hired blue-collar workers outside the territory of the United States, many Jamaati sympathizers, US citizens, possibly slip into the system. I cannot give any suggestion in this regard. The relevant authorities ought to have a hard look in their hiring process. Shabir, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, of course. When any government agency hires anyone, it's not just anyone from Bangladesh or from any other country, but when they hire, they go through a scrutiny, process of scrutiny. I don't have any knowledge on how they do. But I think this is very much established. Yeah, you have more experience on this because you are in this field, and that's why I don't have much knowledge on this. But I just want to add one thing that you mentioned earlier when one Jamaat Islam leader, sorry, Hifazat Islam Bangladesh leader said that he's against the non-believers. You know why he said this? Because those who are non-believers, they look at carefully and they go after their ulterior motive. They can highlight, they can portray what their motives are in terms of uh, implementing the philosophy of political Islam with hate, with violence, and all this. So they are very much vocal. Those he identified as non-believers, they are very straightforward. These non-believers are very straightforward in bringing up their ultimate motive onto the surface. Because you see, like people like those who are believers, so they are Islam, they are not doing anything, just doing some politics, but Islam, oh, it's our religion, it's great, it's fine. So they just don't go after them with strong look and careful investigation, and they don't portray them and don't bring their ulterior motive into the surface. But those who are non-believers, they say, oh, okay, let me see what you want to do. And all these they highlight, so well, and expose their motives. So that's why they want to go after them. I would say like this whoever, I think most of the Hifazat Islam leaders in Bangladesh, they say like this. They should say we are not against any human being.
Shabir, before I conclude, I mean, I suddenly something came in my mind when you said about attack on non-believers. But if you go to if you just discuss the political landscape in USA, you can say that a traditional friend of Islam or Muslims, the Republican Party, has shifted um, uh, dramatically during the last decade or so. So, former President Trump, talked about Islamic terrorism before he came to power. So, I would say many of the Islamists, Bangladeshi Islamists, particular, they I think they don't have anything to do with the Republican Party. Many of the Bangladeshi American Islamists living in USA, they are shifting towards Democratic Party. So, and I see sometimes they really, come to the vote, and sometimes they just stand in they become a candidate, in certain areas in Democratic Party. So, an interesting thing came in my mind. They have dichotomy. These Bangladeshi Islamists, Bangladeshi American Islamists living in USA, has a serious double standard. On the one hand, they don't have any problems supporting wholeheartedly President Obama or President Biden, who supported or still supporting gay marriage, abortion rights wholeheartedly. They have no problem. But they have problem with Hasina. Sheikh Hasina, how whatever she does with Hepazati, how much Islamic she becomes or Islamic she becomes, how many mosques she builds, Sheikh Hasina, in the eyes of those Bangladeshi American Islamists, Sheikh Hasina is still an atheist. I can quote, I had a chance to see social media, one of the such guys. He is a staunch Democratic Party supporter. His social media is full of vote for Biden, hundreds of postings. But the same person has no problem in mentioning attacking Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, as a non-believer. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I I mean, I never did politics in Bangladesh or in the US. I was not involved in any political party any time in my life. But I observed because when I grew up in 1971, we went through this political fight into real fight with Pakistan. So we grew up with these political events, made me interested in reading and knowing what's going on. As I see, like as I went through, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was a pious Muslim. He was a believer. I mean, our Bangladesh founding father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was a believer, strong believer, and but he was against mixing politics in Islam. I think also the current Prime Minister, Mrs. Sheikh Hasina, was also a believer, strong believer. And I read in many places, this starts her day in the morning, very early morning. She starts her day with prayer, with Islamic prayer, and I think she believes strongly that people should have their prayer place and mosques and all these, and so that's how she established many mosques. Okay, let's people have their prayer place. Maybe with government support, those who think like me, I think the government should be away from there should be there's separation of government from religion. Government should be equal to all religion. So in this case, I think Bangladesh should not, government shouldn't provide any funds for building any mosque or any temple. It's the devotees, the people who are pious, they will contribute and they will build. Privately it will be built. That's what I think. But yeah, I think she's tried to appease the leaders in Islam and all this. So she established many mosques and all this, but still they don't, because they think that she's on their path against declaring Bangladesh as Islamic Republic, against you know she's against their path toward Sharia law and all this. I think she's like her father, who believed in separation of religion from politics, but both of them are past. She's probably, you know, the one who actually, for example, I can say she's actually the one. She's actually tried to help research and etc. on Islam and everything through Islamic Foundation. When Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in the Constitution included separation of, included included the provision for not having any political party with Islam. When she included provision not to have any political Islamic parties, then his advisors, I read about it, his advisors suggested him, you should give some outlet to the, Islamic preachers, mullahs, that they will do some research and all this. So the advisor suggested him, instead let them do research and all this. So create a foundation called Islamic Foundation. As a matter of fact, he created this Islamic Foundation. I, as a strongly secular person, I would say no. I don't want government to pay for any religious foundation. It's my personal choice. But but I think he, as a prime minister or president, he has to look into the whole picture, the reality of a country. So that's why he actually, um, his government actually created this Islamic Foundation. But unfortunately, even with all this, Bangabandhu did creating Islamic Foundation. The political Islamists are not happy with him. Now, Mrs. Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who has done all these different things, funding for many mosques and all these, still, the political Islamists are not happy with her, as I see. They are currently, as we are speaking, they are against, they're having movement against her.
In this case, Shabir, before sorry, we will wrap up very soon. I was just emphasizing on Bangladeshi-born Islamists in Western countries, especially in USA. So I talked about infiltration, and I can say that many of the Bangladeshi Americans of Islamist persuasion, they have very much infiltrated into Democratic Party because they think that Democratic Party, probably because of its kinder heart, because they probably like the immigrants and all this, and maybe they think that, oh, poor victims, the Muslims, they probably embrace the political Islamists, with the facade. But some of the, I'm not talking about only those who are involved in US politics. I'm talking about lately what we find that some of the Islamic preachers or political Islamist operatives who migrated to USA maybe, or immigrated to USA during the last 4 or 5 years, they have got their own YouTube channel with 100 to 200,000, 300,000 viewers. So they are constantly, day by day, every day, they are preaching the hatred, and they want to they want to see Bangladesh as Islamic Republic in Iranian or some other country style. So I can say these are kind of these people they're dangerous mind. But USA as a democratic country, a country of freedom, has hands tied also. What do you think? Your final comment.
Yeah, yeah. I know about whose people you are talking. Who have their channels, and they're actually creating. They actually propagate inflammatory. Many times they exaggerate different events, and they want to. They're actually directly encouraging political Islamists like Jamaat Islami and Hafazat Islam Bangladesh with having their channels in USA, and they're staying in USA. You know what? The people who when they come from Bangladesh, okay, say we are here. We some probably came as a student and did the study with root in political Islam in Bangladesh, and they came here. They did their study, and then they are qualified enough to get job. Some were doing, some were linked to it, Hafazat Islam or Jamaat Islami, and the government found out and said, okay, we need to take action. And then somehow they got visa and came here, and they said, oh, okay, the persecution. I was a journalist there, and now I had to flee and all this. So for someone in the immigration, it's hard to find out who has come from like Khulna of Bangladesh or Sylhet of Bangladesh, what is background, all this. So they quickly get political asylum. But then they start using, as you mentioned, like freedom of speech option that they have, they enjoy here, and then they start their channel, and then they start promoting all the political Islamists. I watched some of their channels. They're directly promoting the political Islamists in Bangladesh. They're directly promoting establishing Sharia country in Islam. They're directly promoting Islamic to have an Islamic revolution in Bangladesh, and they're directly saying something like Iranian style. Government will come to power. The way they propagate, it's not hidden, but the thing is that they're doing in Bengali, and they're not doing in English, so it's hard for others to see what they're doing. But I can feel their tone. You also, I think, sure, you can understand what they're trying to propagate and what they're trying to uh, you know what they're trying to initiate in Bangladesh. Iran is the Islamic style revolution in Bangladesh. I fully understand what I'm not mentioning their names here, but I know whom you're speaking about.
It's very outrageous. Okay, so let's call it a day. It's nice talking to you, Shabir.
Yeah, nice talking to you, Jamal. Thank you. Thank you for organizing this discussion.
Yes, and we will again talk. This is not the end. Yeah, and our talk continues. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You
Okay.
too. Take care. Bye.
Take care.